All right, Miracle. I want to thank you for this topic.
I know.
This is
it's super cool. I
this
love
is
it.
a new show coming out called Tokyo Vice. I am both the shows, the trailers we're going to cover today. I'm more excited about than just about anything else coming out right now. So, guys, if you're listening to this show or if you're watching this, go and watch the trailer for this for these projects first. So the first one's called Tokyo Vice. It stars Ansel Elgort and Ken the estimable and fantastic Ken Watanabe.
Who's a controversial choice right now.
I brought up an article to discuss if need be. I wasn't sure if I wanted to work that into this conversation, but I think it'll. I think this will come up for every project he gets for the rest of his life. It will come up. But first, we're going to go through
or at least
project.
for the next, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
Yes. So it says, following first look image unveiled in February, HBO Max today released the trailer for Tokyo Vice, an upcoming action thriller series that is set to premiere in early April. So this, I think it said April 8th is when this comes out. It says, inspired by a true story, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, because this is as far as book adaptations goes, this is a fascinating topic to adapt to the screen. So it says the series stars Ansel Elgort, follows a young American journalist who is sent to chronicle the everyday activities of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police and ends up uncovering shocking information about the Vice Squad and the Yakuza, which is, people who don't know, that's the Japanese mafia. The trailer reveals Elgort as Jake, an American investigative reporter who ups and moves to the Japanese metropolis. Once he decides to write about crime in Japan. As any newcomer, he's not taken very seriously by his peers, but things start changing when he decides to get to know the real Tokyo and quickly discovers that he's investigating that his investigation may indeed get very, very real. And that, of course, includes secrets, death threats, and putting his life at risk. So the reason why, the first reason why I was so excited about this, one, because Miracle was excited about it, and I like it. Anytime Miracle's excited, anytime like our interests fall into like similar spheres, I find that very, very awesome. This is a series produced by Michael Mann, and he is directing, I believe, the first episode as well. Michael Mann, the poster is not back up there right now, but he's the one who directed my favorite movie of all time, which is Heat. He also made the Miami Vice movie, which is really nothing like the Miami Vice TV show that he produced, but I still love it, even though it's one of those movies that became like a cult classic years later. It's like the movie makes actually very little sense, but it's beautifully shot. It was one of the first movies ever shot on digital. And a lot of it was shot like during a hurricane in Miami. So there's like these scenes on beaches that literally could never be done anymore, like because there's not a wind machine powerful enough to get the trees that are shaking. It was like a once in a
lifetime opportunity, and they really capitalized on it.
It's Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx, but the movie and Gong Li. Very, very, like a movie that I can put on knowing that it makes very little sense, but it's got beautiful ambiance, it's got beautiful imagery. The actors are not likable, but very gritty and realistic in an unrealistic way, if that makes any sense. So his work tends to resonate with me very, very highly. So if I see him choosing to direct something like this, I have to imagine that he's not just producing it, he's putting his name behind directing part of it. I think that says something about it. So it says he did Miami. Oh, they've said he did Miami Vice and Heat. He did more than that, but those just happen to be the ones that I love the most. Tokyo Vice was created and written by J.T. Rogers, a playwright who previously adapted his own play Oslo for the screen. Rogers based Tokyo Vice on the memoir of the same name by journalist Jake Adelstein, played by Elgort on screen. So I want to go over here to this is talking about Tokyo Vice, the book. So this is what this is based on. This is where the source material comes from. It says the account covers Adelstein's career in Tokyo starting in 1993, where he was hired as a rookie reporter for that Miracle. Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah.
Do you know how to pronounce that? Yamiro? Yep. Yamiro? Shimbun? As a cadet. He describes being taken under the wing as Sakaguchi. Okay. As an older detective, Adelstein was initially assigned to Taki Saitama, and the memoir covers his next 12 years as a staffer for the paper, describing 80-hour work weeks, relationship difficulties, and the interactions between crime reporters and the police. Specific cases involved the search for the killer of Lucy Blackman, and the memoir also details death threats after he published his expose on Tadamasa Gato. as he also uncovered the Saitama Prefecture. I don't know what that, which is they found out that they were altering scientific data on dioxin contamination. Dioxin's a poison, right?
Yeah. I believe so. That's what they keep on hinting at.
Okay, so this is one of those things where in the review, like in the trailer, everybody was in there because they loved the book. Like this was not one of those things where people didn't know what the source material was. They're like, this book is.
Do you feel like that's more and more common? I feel like there are a lot of projects right now where the people involved that aren't just like, I can understand if the writers and the director were like, we love the source material, but like it's also the actors now and like maybe. I can only imagine the costumers and stuff like that who are interested and invested in the projects. I mean, I think that's an interesting change.
I think there's more room to do stuff like that because books tend to be typically very hard to adapt because of the sheer length of a lot of them. But when these things are being made now, which are limited series, which is 6 to 8 episodes, you have more room to play with. So there's more creative freedom in adapting these projects where you don't have to fit it all into a 2.5 hour movie anymore. You can spread it out over 6 episodes. And we're going to talk about that later with We Own the City, which is also based on a book, which another thing that I think the subject matter is so vast and interesting that I don't think you want to do it in 2.5 hours when you could do it over a longer period of time, especially if it's character driven and it allows these things to breathe and go more in depth. So I wish we could I wish we could watch the trailer.
It's like really aesthetically pleasing.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeously shot. It's very Michael Mann, drenched in deep blues, reds, and oranges. Ken Watanabe. I don't know if anybody here knows who.
He's from Godzilla, you guys. Oh,
Miracle knows him from Godzilla. He played fake Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. But he's like a legendary actor. He's been around for.
If you guys are old school, The Last Samurai.
Yes. Good job.
Yeah.
Excellent. So he's fantastic. Elgort as
Brett just looked. If you are not watching the video, Brett just looked at Miracle with such a look of pride.
Very good.
He is like going to give her a gold star.
I almost did. I almost did right there.
He was like, "Here's a gold star for you."
I wish people could see. Like, I really do recommend. Like, it's hard for these segments to explain like just how beautiful this project looks. So go watch the trailer for this. I really do think you're going to find something you're going to like here. Especially, like I said, if they're doing these in 6 to 8 episodes, 50 minutes a piece. Like when we talk about this stuff, a lot of times I have a hard time committing to watching watching shows to review on here because it's a large time commitment for something that's only going to be a 20 or 30 minute review at most. You know, if it's a segment we do here, the movie reviews
like
make
it'd
sense.
be different if you had like everyone come in and say like, hey, what's something you're watching you like? And someone was like, hey, I just finished a series. It's really good. Versus like you guys having to individually put in the time to review it. Like,
yes. Like Miracle will binge stuff and be like, this is really good. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have because of like the nature of my work, I can't put it on in the background and watch it as I'm working. I have to, I don't know if this is Miracle's formula. I have to take notes. I have to like sit down.
I used to take notes, but then I realized my brain is capable of holding everything if I do binge it.
I don't. We'll finish there was a couple of things we did where I chose to forego notes, and then when we got done with the review, I'm like, there's so many things I wanted to mention that I forgot.
So do you guys think you'll both individually watch this?
Oh yeah,
because you sent it to me. You were like, I think you should watch the trailer before we do the show, and I was like, sure, no problem. And it's really cool. I mean, I'm really interested in this. Again, it was like,
I love how they keep on calling him foreigner.
Yeah.
So, Gaijin,
they're very mean to him.
That's every Asian country.
That's the culture.
No,
right?
I mean, like, I think it gives us a kind of, all of you know that I am so tired of remakes. I don't even watch most of them where they just like change a couple things. Oh, they're all girls now or whatever. Yeah. This is actually a cool project that's an adaptation of something real.
Yeah.
And it is a perspective on journalism and culture. And
that's the reason I saved this for you, because I figured you might, as a journalist, it might resonate with you.
Yeah. Well, I also love like biographies and autobiographies. I think they're so fascinating. And I really do think that this kind of is a fresh take on a lot of things, a new perspective on Japan, a new perspective on, policing, things like that, especially given all of the conversations that have gone on around law enforcement. I am always interested in a perspective on other countries' law enforcement and their position on crime, especially since Japan is so infamously low crime.
It is because they have.
But yet everybody's heard of the Yakuza.
Yeah,
that's, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating thing that we're like, no, the Yakuza, except also no crime, but also yes crime.
Well, no. So it's kind of funny because like basically the Yakuza during 2020 they were going broke. So you know what they did? They went to go steal those box watermelons. You remember those square watermelons? They stole it and then resold it because like they're like, we're broke. But then they talked about I wanted to talk about this, but like a long time ago, but it's like old news already. But the Yakuza also, they don't like it when you mess with their village or their country, period. So they will defend you if you're like a fellow Japanese man. And also they do donate money back to the community.
Yeah, I've heard there is like a weird ecosystem. It's not something I'm extensively well versed in, but like there is an ecosystem between the Yakuza law enforcement and the Japanese government and culture generally that like it's very hard unless you are Japanese or have lived there for a long time to understand, because it's a part of culture that is like deeply ingrained and very sort of.
If you guys want like more information about it, I recommend watching Joey the Anime Man on YouTube. He interviewed a ex-Yakuza member, and then Pablo. I'm not sure. I believe I saw it under his too, but Joey the Anime Man, he interviewed a Yakuza, ex-Yakuza man.
Gangsters who get out is like a fascination.
It's
I think
so
in all
interesting.
cultures. Do either of you know who Michael Francis is?
Maybe. It's very
he was like he was an Italian mobster who got out and is now a very successful YouTuber.
Yeah.
He reviews mob movie. That's my Mob Movie Monday, and he talks about the ones that are that have the most that are the most accurate, the ones that are like that he doesn't like, and he's kind of he's friends with Mike Tyson, which I think is it's really funny.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like this endless fascination with people like that. I think there's a culture around the idea of, like you were saying, how they help the community, of the gentleman criminal. They're somebody who's a bad person but lives by a code per se.
And like they're allowed to maybe terrorize Japan, but no one else.
Yeah.
Japan is their thing. Japan is a very patriotic country.
They are. It's so funny. Like, you remember the tsunami that hit Japan a while ago? So Yakuza members actually went to go help out those communities that were devastated by the tsunami. So it's kind of weird. Like, you see like the stereotypical Yakuza man like wearing the tux, and like he looks very mean, but he's helping like a child or an old woman get out. And they're giving them food. It's just weird. I feel like it kind of it's kind of like the same system how they had it in the samurai system. So in the Edo period, there's like different levels of like who's the hierarchy and whatnot, and how certain people are supposed to act.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
It's really weird, like Japanese people, like how they have manners and etiquettes. It's kind of weird to me because it's very formal and it's like very conservative in a certain way, and sometimes it can tend to be a little bit annoying. Like a fun fact, there's a certain city in Japan where it's polite to say no, but when somebody offers you something, you can say no, but don't say no right away. Act like you're pretending to accept it, but then tell them no thank you. You have to say it at least 3 times.
Very cultural.
So
it's deeply cultural. It's something that I think is so different to America because like we infamously call ourselves the melting pot, and like that means that like instead of refining one culture over centuries the way Japan really has, like we are kind of taking the median from a lot, which like pros and cons to each thing, but I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be something I definitely attempt to watch. Where's it coming out on?
April
HBO
7th.
Max.
Yeah,
On
HBO Max.
Yeah.
We have that here.
Okay, cool, because I don't want to get it myself.
Yeah, but I think it's super cool. And like we're talking about like how you're saying like all the Japanese people were mean towards him. No, that's in every Asian country. If you're a foreigner moving and working to a company, they'll be mean to you. So in Japan, they call you gaijin, which means foreigner. Like direct translation means like foreigner.
Well, also like
foreigner person.
It could also be because he's the low end of the totem pole at the job. Like
they do that to like pretty much everybody. There was a guy. He I think he wrote a BuzzFeed article about it, or like interviewed, like he got interviewed, but he was talking about he moved to Hong Kong and they called him Guaylo, and Guaylo direct translation means white ghost or foreigner.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was like getting upset about it because like at first he thought it was a cute little nickname, and then he found out the real translation. And he's like, "Stop calling me that."
It's that's very, I love it. I can't wait to see.
There's
this.
like a hint of racism somewhere in Asia.
Well,
I mean,
think, I feel like it's just like, yeah, but they're not shying away from it here. They're
No,
showing
they're not.
it, so that's kind of like it
why
feels
I'm so
honest.
It's also why I'm so excited about it. Like, it's a different perspective on culture, and especially I don't want to say that Hollywood stereotypes Japan or anything like that, but like we don't explore its nuances maybe as much as we should. And I think it's a really fascinating country.
And of course, there was like when I source these topics, like I look for stuff from various different websites, and one of them, it was from one of the really like uppity sites that thinks they're like, it was like AV Club or Cinema Blend, where it's like one of the comments like a lot of hints of Orientalism in there. I'm like, so you just can't make anything.
You mean it's about Japan?
Yeah, that's what it's like. You literally can't know that if you haven't seen the project yet.
Yeah.
So like, it's like you just want to be mad about something.
Yeah.
I was more impressed about the fact that he didn't mention Ansel Elgort. So at least good for him for complaining about something different. So
Yeah,
I'm excited.
it's really exciting, especially like he's talking about a major city that, especially Tokyo, because like nobody knows exactly what's going on, and plus like Tokyo has like different parts of it too. Like I had to learn quickly when I went my second time to Japan. There's different cities within it. There's like the expensive side, and then the little.
It reminds me in that
cultural
sense
one.
so much of New York.
Yeah.
Like there are so many different neighborhoods, and you can think of like maybe the top 4 or 5 out of here, but like even within those, there's like subsections.
Yeah.
And like I remember like talking to some of my friends who grew up like born in New York, always lived there. It's like, yeah, like this neighborhood is cool, but actually only this part is cool.
Yeah.
And like if you were gonna look for an apartment, like it's better to be in this part of one neighborhood, or if you can't get into there, you want to go over here. Like it's very nuanced in that sense too, which like it's so fascinating with major cities.
It is true because like a lot of people like talking about Tokyo, Akihabara, and then Shinjuku. So Akihabara is like the nerd central, and then Shinjuku is where like all those cute Lolita kawaii girls go. It's just weird. Like I hope like soon in the future maybe they might talk more like in different locations for filming in the industry, but I don't know. This is like one step that I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they're talking about like a new story, like what you mentioned, which is really interesting to me.
We will see. I'm excited. So April, that's coming up. That's less than a month away. Actually, at one point, before Ansel Elgort was signed on to do that, they wanted Daniel Radcliffe to play that character in that.
But he's Weird
physically
Al.
different, honestly.
And thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.